Mom files $30 million RICO lawsuit against family court Cabal. A San Diego mom has filed a $30 million RICO lawsuit against a family court cabal who colluded to switch custody to the father. This is a first-of-its-kind custody crisis lawsuit in which a mother is claiming that the usual court actors all conspired and engaged in a pattern of illegal activities with the goal of divesting her of her children and her money. There have been many civil rights lawsuits filed by mother victims of family court, some of which have alleged a conspiracy amongst various court actors, such as Annetta's suit, RIP. However, this appears to be the first filed under the Federal Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, citing racketeering as a cause of action, along with the usual civil rights violations. The lawsuit confirms what women have long been claiming. The various actors involved in their custody case conspire illegally in the taking of their children. It serves as an excellent example and an expose of the cabals of professionals in every jurisdiction who collude in the switching of custody from primary nurturing mothers to fathers who want custody to get revenge, continue to control, or to gain financially. It can also serve as a template for mothers who want to file their own version. Unfortunately, the brilliant attorney who wrote and filed the lawsuit died suddenly of pancreatic cancer. It was dismissed without prejudice, meaning it can be filed again. If you know an attorney who may be interested, contact info@womenscoalition.org. This mother has also filed a separate state lawsuit against the so-called reunification therapist for fraudulent business practices. Comment below if you'd like a column about that one. We'll discuss the lawsuit and then give some takeaways. But first, this mother's story. Sunny was 21 when she met Jeff in Northern California. Because she was so young, she did not recognize his coercive and controlling behavior was a type of emotional abuse. Until much later, after marriage and kids. Sunny gave birth to Kelsey in 2006 and Christopher in 2009. Jeff traveled a lot for work, and she did all of the parenting. Jeff isolated her from her family. She was expected to tend to his every need, as well as to requests of his mother. She was conditioned to believe that her place was in the home, caring for her husband and children, with no questions asked. Sunny was allowed very little time for herself. She had no access to their finances and was given only a small allowance weekly. She endured psychological, emotional, and financial abuse for their entire marriage. She finally left him in 2015. She went to trauma therapy and began to heal from all the abuse. She happily remarried and had another child. They were a very happy family. That is, until Jeff remarried and filed for sole custody. Sunny had retained primary custody before that. According to the lawsuit, the racketeering began in 2020 when Judge Victor Torres appointed a minors' counsel, children's attorney, to represent the children legally. Soon after, he appointed a therapist, supposedly for the children, but she began an unethical dual role as the father's therapist. Meanwhile, the children were not happy visiting their father and new stepmother, especially Kelsey, who was a teenager by then. She began resisting going on visits, complaining that he was neglectful, and the stepmother was emotionally abusive. She wanted to live with her mother and stepfather, where she was loved and well cared for. In March of 2021, Kelsey self-harmed. She told the therapist that she would commit suicide if she had to keep going on half-time visits with him and the stepmother, who she really did not like. She said she did not want to continue therapy with the therapist, who was staunchly on her father's side. Kelsey said, "I don't want to go to therapy anymore. This therapy is not helping anything between the dynamic of my dad and I. I feel that it's doing the opposite of what therapy is supposed to do. It's hurting me." Jeff reacted to Kelsey's disclosures of abuse and her desire to not have to visit him by accusing Sunny of alienating the kids, which the therapist reported to the court. This resulted in Judge Torres giving him more time, increasing it to 50-50. It was further ordered that Sonny could not call or text the children during their week at their father's. Kelsey then made it clear verbally, and in writing, she was not happy with this decision. Kelsey said, "No child should be forced to have a relationship or love their parent if they do not want to." Minors' counsel and the therapist ignored her cries for help. Judge Torres appointed a conjoint therapist, one who can do therapy with the parents and children. Sonny was also court-ordered to see an individual therapist who must report to the conjoint therapist. This is how the court keeps tabs on the mother. The conjoint therapist did the most damage and would warrant her own cause of action in the lawsuit. She deemed Sonny the abuser in the family and would verbally abuse her in sessions. She blamed Sonny for Kelsey's self-harm. And, wait for it, she deemed Sonny guilty of parental alienation. She said, throughout the therapy with the minor, Kelsey presented with clear indications of parental alienation syndrome. Reading the text caused this therapist to see the family through a severe parental alienation syndrome construct. Reunification/brainwashing. The conjoint therapist required Sonny to apologize to the children for alienating them from their father, even though she had not, nor did the facts or evidence support it. The kids simply did not want to visit their father for good reason. This is the extortion claimed in the lawsuit. A false confession and apology was extorted from Sonny. This coerced apology was then used to get an order to send the kids to a reunification program where they could be cured. But that was just doublespeak. There was never no parental alienation, and the therapy was not meant to cure alienation. It was to coerce and brainwash the children into accepting living with their father, all the while putting false blame on the mother. Ironically, this reunification therapy set the stage for the real alienation of the kids from Sonny. After this therapeutic program took place in New York, Jeff was given sole custody, and this enabled him to keep the children away from Sonny completely. This constituted severe parental alienation, but the co-conspirators were fine with that. Unsurprisingly, the conjoint therapist had a history of referring children to this particular, very expensive reunification program. Chuching. More racketeering. The reunification therapist called Sonny a sinner to her face in a session before the program and said she had poisoned her kids. She glorified Jeff, saying he had done nothing wrong. She said Sonny had just imagined Jeff's abuse. She blamed Kelsey's self-harming and suicidality on her. She said Sonny had put a stake in the kids' hearts by alienating them from their father. If not for such serious consequences, this would be laughable. Although Sonny continued to do everything required by the court, continually reapplying for visitation, she was never given any visits. Zero contact with her own children, not even supervised, which murderer and rapist fathers get. She never saw her children after that. RICO lawsuit. Sonny began to connect with other mothers in San Diego and across the country and realized she had been duped, that all the family court actors actually knew the truth, that she had not alienated the children. And Jeff was not deserving of sole custody. They had all systematically and methodically conspired to deprive her of her children. So she sought out and found a malpractice attorney who was willing to fight for her. Chris Bayak wrote up an amazing, nearly 100-page lawsuit, PDF, detailing all the corruption and injustice that the co-conspirators had wrought on Sonny. The defendants include the minors' counsel, conjoint therapist, reunification therapist, and children's therapist, as well as her ex and his attorney. There are 3 causes of action. The first cause of action is for violation of civil rights, 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. 1 count of procedural due process, unlawful seizure, and familial association, and another count of substantive due process, the right to be free from the use of deception in judicial proceedings, and familial association. The second cause of action for the violation of Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, 18 U.S.C. Section 1961 et seq. The third cause of action is for professional negligence. It is highly encouraged you read the lawsuit, but here are some excerpts. One of the many schemes, but in particular, the instant scheme to defraud by corrupted litigation involves the defendants conspiring and colluding with each other. Defendants acted to better the enterprise through the false representation, judicial deception, omission of facts, threats, coercion, trickery, extortion, wire fraud, as well witness tampering, all with the anticipated result of wresting and denying custody of plaintiff's children from her. Defendants engaged in a racketeering enterprise, as each of them collectively formed a group and/or association joined in a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct as a continuing unit to commit fraud upon the court and plaintiff. The defendants associated together to form an enterprise. The defendants associated together to form an enterprise within the meaning of 18 U.S.C. Section 1961, subsection 4, whereby they devised a scheme to defraud plaintiffs and others by way of fraudulently induced custody of children awards through the use of falsified evidence, intentionally omitting evidence from the court, and generally engaging in judicial deception in order to wrest custody rights from plaintiff to defendant. Such custody would be to the exclusion of plaintiff. Defendants in violation of RICO utilized extensively electronic filing, electronic mail, and the United States Postal for service and transmittal of communications, filing and lodging materials with the court in service of pleadings, which were knowingly false, misrepresentation of facts. Defendants' enterprise activity acting through defendants' engaged activities and demands amounting to extortion of plaintiff by attempting to have her admit to false facts and/or abuse, in exchange favorable custody and visitation reports, and promising the return of her children in violation of 18 U.S.C. Sections 1961, 1962, and federal law defining extortion. That was all the excerpts. Sunny claims the damage for her suffering is equal to $10 million. However, the RICO statute allows for the jury to impose 3 times the actual damage, which amounts to $30 million, plus attorney's fees and legal costs. Takeaways. Reunification programs have gotten such a bad rap lately that therapists have begun using other terms to describe it, such as therapeutic vacations and pure bonding. These get around new laws restricting it. The important takeaway, though, is to be absolutely clear that none of the terms, including reunification, is actually taking place. As noted above, it is coercion and brainwashing of children via unethical and greedy therapists. True reunification therapy is a good thing for loving parents who have been alienated from their children, but judges rarely order it when the mother has been truly alienated. Keep in mind, the judge is always the head of the snake in custody crisis cases, even though none of Sunny's 6 judges is named in the lawsuit. This may have been strategic, as that way it appears the judges were swayed by the co-conspirators. But mothers who've been through family court know that judges know exactly what they are doing and are, in fact, part of the custody switching scheme. Although RICO concentrates on money being made from illegal activities, the profiteering by court actors, minus judges, is not the core cause of the crisis. It is just a reward for those who go along to get along with the underlying agenda to empower the father after divorce, just as in Sunny's case. See? Down the cottage industry rabbit hole. A RICO lawsuit is a great way to accomplish many things with one action. It gives mothers credibility when they say court actors are conspiring against them. It lays out all the injustices for everyone to see, including reporters, if you want to go public. It also serves to tell the legal story to your children so they can see how hard you fought. And it provides a measure of accountability for the court actors who conspired to do terrible things to a loving mother and her children. That's our custody crisis story for today. See you for another one next week. And, as always, be sure and like, comment, and subscribe.